Psalm 23, we'll go ahead and put it up on the screen. I want to read the whole thing. Woo, get all my stuff out of the way here. How many of you have your Bible with you? A few. Somebody yell at me something. Somebody. The ones that, yeah. All right. So Psalm 23, it says this. Read it with me. The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not lack. Well, you don't have to read it with me. I mean, just read it there. You don't have to say it out loud. I'll read it for you. So He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still and restful waters. He refreshes and restores my life. He leads me in the paths of righteousness, uprightness and right standing with Him, not for my earning it, but for His name's sake. Yes, though I walk through the deep sunless valley of the shadow of death, I will fear and dread no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over. Surely only goodness, mercy, and unfailing love shall follow me all the days of my life. And through the length of my days, the house of the Lord shall be my dwelling place. Now, when David wrote this, like I was saying before, some people think that, it kind of sounds like back when he was a shepherd, he might have wrote this, right? But a lot of people, and a lot of people I respect, really believe that he wrote this later on in his life because of the experiences he talks about are so mature, and he had to have experienced those things. And when he did, it was later on in his life. And some people believe this is one of the last psalms that he wrote, like, kind of like a greatest hits type thing, because he was a psalm. Okay, never mind. So anyways, I'm going to continue on into what we were talking about. So we're talking about a broken spirit. We're in the series called A Broken Spirit. Now, like, to you, that may not be much of a concern. You may not be thinking like, oh, what's my spirit? Like I'm thinking about a broken home or my broken relationships. But this, in fact, is the most important, and I'm sure, it's that one that you need to be aware of is your spirit. One reason being that you have a body right now, but for eternity, it's going to be your spirit and God and everybody else's spirit. So I'm thinking that it might be of some importance, and maybe the people around you, theirs might be of some importance too. Yes? I'll go with that. Okay. Now, when I stand up here, a lot of times I come up here, and it gets kind of deep. So you're gonna have to go with me. I'm a thinker. I like to just sit quietly and think a lot. So I've thought through, a lot of things. I've thought extensively through what I believe. I think everybody should do that, but not a lot of people have. But I think you should. If you have the time, think about it. I mean, really ask yourself the hard questions. What do you really believe? Why are you here at JG, or are you just coming? Because if you're just coming, you're really not going to get anywhere. It doesn't matter how passionate you are about it. I would think about it, really why? So anyways, we're going to think for a little bit, if that's okay. So a broken spirit. First of all, I've seen a lot of people with a broken spirit, and you have too. You just may not identify it that way. A lot of times people even carry a broken spirit for their entire lives, and it hinders them from ever experiencing God's greatness for their lives or the full potential of what they can do. Whether you believe in God or not, people with a broken spirit, you can see that they have a broken spirit. You may not identify it that way, but they are broken in some way. There's some people that are so hindered that they cannot function the way they should, right? I don't know if you've seen it. I mean, I can start naming dysfunctions in people, but I think you can think of a few yourself. So I'm not going to call anybody out or anything. Let's start with Proverbs 18:14. Let's go ahead and pull it. What do we got there? Actually, it's right behind Psalm, or right in front of Psalms, if you have your Bible with you. 18:14. Oh, that's. And this one says, "The strong spirit of a man sustains him in bodily pain or trouble, but a weak and broken spirit, who can raise up or bear?" Okay, that's kind of heavy. We're going to go through a lot of Proverbs that kind of talk about the spirit tonight. One thing that we need to do first is identify what the spirit is. The spirit, you can kind of say, I like the way my a pastor that I really respect a lot, his name's Timothy Keller, he kind of puts it this way, that your spirit is emotional energy. Your emotional energy. Okay, I'll go with that. Like, that's a way we can identify it. Obviously, your spirit is made of God. We are a spirit with a body, we're not a body with a spirit. Okay, we have to understand that first. Your spirit is who you are. Your body's, gonna pass away, obviously. So in this one, in Proverbs 18:14, it says, the strong spirit of a man sustains him in bodily pain or trouble, but a weak and broken spirit, who, that would mean nobody, pretty much, who can raise up or bear it? That would pretty much mean nobody can. This would say that nothing's more important than maintaining your inner being or your spirit. Okay, that's kind of what I get from this. Like, it's kind of a challenge. Who can really stand having a broken spirit? People can stand having a broken body, but can they stand having a broken spirit? You can have what this also means is that you can have a sick body or a broken body, and as long as you have a strong spirit, you can go out in strength. But obviously, vice versa. If you have a broken spirit and you have a strong body, it's not going to help. This would be our identity with, the cliches here, money, relationships, whatever we think we want on the outside. If we think that is going to be, if we get that as strong as we can, as much as we can, but we don't have a strong spirit, it's going to mean nothing. Okay, you're not going to be able to bear it. I think we can identify with that enough as is. Even when Paul prayed, Paul wrote most of the New Testament, if you don't know, and when he wrote his prayers, to them, he said, I pray for you. He didn't, even though they were being persecuted, the church, this was the start of the church, this was a very dangerous time for the church. Lots of things were happening, lots of persecution, people were dying, obviously they were making a stand against the way things were. So obviously there's a lot of resistance. And Paul, his main prayer was that God would build up your spirit. Not that those things would go away. Not that the persecution would go away. Not that any of the hard times would not happen. He said, I pray that your spirit be strong, that God will strengthen your spirit. So this is obviously important. This is obviously a place where we find our strength. So what do we do about that? Like, how do we keep our spirit strong? And the truth of it is, if we're trying to understand our spirit, it's immensely complicated. I mean, everybody heard. Excuse me. I will speak clearly now. Have you ever heard someone say, nobody understands me? Well, nobody understands you. I mean, you're your own spirit, and God created you so unique, so immensely complicated, you can't, it's very, very hard to simplify it, to reduce it. If you try to, it's not going to give you a good answer, okay? Now, you can spend your whole life trying to figure that out. I'd rather just spend my life running my race, doing what God told me to do, right? I mean, I don't really need to be so introspective that I know everything about my spirit to make it function right, okay? I don't have to be, it's like I don't have to be a doctor to be healthy, okay? I can eat right, treat my body right. I don't have to be a doctor and know everything about surgery and neuroscience and all that stuff to be healthy, do I? No. Okay, but here's the thing. I want to go to Hebrews 12:1 because we're going to do some neuroscience tonight. Something. Neurosurgery. 12:1. Therefore then, Hebrews 12:1. Therefore then, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, let us strip off and throw aside every encumbrance and that sin which so readily clings to and entangles us, and let us run with patience, endurance, and steady and active persistence the appointed course of the race that is set before us. Okay, that's good. We all know that verse, okay? We all know this next one too. Looking away from all that will distract to Jesus, who is the leader and the source of our faith, giving the first incentive for our belief and is also its finisher. He, for the joy that was set before him, endured the cross, despising and ignoring the shame, and is now seated at the right hand of the throne of God. Okay, so like I said, you can spend your life trying to understand the human complex, or you can spend it running your race and doing what God has sent you to do and accomplishing great things and all of that good stuff. I'd rather do that, right? Anybody else? Okay, we'll go with that. Our problem is that many of us don't believe it's that simple. Many of us will not, in fact, trust God entirely. Many of you here tonight have not, in fact, given everything you have over to God in order to run your race and do this right. So we are going to be introspective tonight so that you can further understand why you should simply focus on Jesus and run your race. The reason that we don't trust God is because of fear. I think I've talked about this before, that, about fear, but just a little bit of a lesson that I've learned recently. Sometimes, I'm going to be cliche again. You have to lose sight of the shore to get to the other side, right? If you're crossing the ocean. Okay, that's so cliche, but it's true. I've never seen that more true than recently. I've been taking this class, and it's something I've always wanted to know how to do, but it's kind of, it's a point of fear for me, okay? Now, I'm not, like if you come up to me like, are you afraid of anything? Well, no, but yes. Every single one of you is afraid of something, you just haven't come up to it yet. When you are forced to do something you're afraid of, you find out what fear really is, okay? And so anyway, I'm learning that you do have to let go, because we want to be safe at all times. Our thing is we want to be safe at all times. We want to hold on to the shore, and we won't let it go, and have some insecurity in order to get something accomplished, to get to the other side, okay? And so that's very hard for people to do. So I'm conquering that. Yeah, woohoo. So anyways, but many of you are deathly afraid of public speaking. I don't know if you are here in this place, but you might be. I'm not. I'm standing up here speaking, so I'm obviously not deathly afraid of it. But you might be. And if you are, then you should force yourself to do it. You'll learn a little something about fear and about yourself. It'll be interesting, I promise you. But you'll conquer it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at it. We're going to look at what a broken spirit is, because some of you may be afraid to, like I said, focus solely on Jesus and run your race. And so we're going to address that tonight. Okay. And we're there. So Proverbs 18:14 again. We already read it, but I don't have to bring it back up again. But we're talking about the body, right? But a broken spirit who can bear, right? Someone can have a sick body and a strong spirit, but a broken spirit, what body can bear? The first point is that there's a physical aspect to a broken spirit. And I pray, Jonathan, I'm not preaching your message. I know you're going to preach on the broken. Did I steal the whole thing? I hope not, because there it goes. Jonathan's going to be speaking about the broken spirit as well, I think. So anyways, mine's the precursor. Here we go. So there's a physical aspect. One, if you're not eating right, your body can feel so bad that it will have an effect on your spirit. Okay, you ever notice that? Maybe Matt eats Taco Bell like every day. Is it almost every day? Used to. He would come here, with a lot of Taco Bell. He ate a lot of Taco Bell. You feel better now that you don't eat it every day? Okay, there you go. So, it's good. Eat healthy. It's good for you. Okay, I'm gonna plug that till the end. There we go. All right, you can, sometimes I'll notice that if I don't work out, I start feeling different. I don't feel as well as I normally do. Says I work out every day, and so if I don't, and obviously, and actually scientifically it's proven, your chemicals change. You have endorphins and things like that. There's the runner's high. It really is real, and it's good for you. It keeps perspective right too. So it's good to work out. If you don't, exercise, do it. So and it'll help you. Your outlook on life will be completely different. I promise you. You won't be so sad watching what shows? Honey Boo Boo Child, right? And we are not quoting that tonight. Nope. But you can have a chemical imbalance. There are people that have chemical imbalances that have suicidal thoughts because of that. That don't feel right because of that. So your body can affect your spirit. Okay. There's a physical aspect, and some people say well, that's all in your head. Well, yeah, it's all in my head. This is where everything functions from, right? As far as all that works. So anything I'm talking about tonight, it is valid. It is valid. It's not just tough it up and, make it happen. Sometimes there is legitimate reasons, and I understand that. But we do have a healer. We do have an answer. It's not hopeless. Second one is there's an emotional, relational part to a broken spirit. Okay, Proverbs 12:25. We're going to go to another proverb here. Oh, I gotta move fast. Jonathan was like, hey, we're going to shorten the time of the services. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that sounds great. And then I get up here and try and speak. Okay, 12:25. Anxiety in a man's heart weighs it down, but an encouraging word makes it glad. Now, I don't want us to trivialize this because, when it translates to English, it sounds a little more trivial than it actually is. What you really need, and sometimes, is just an outside word of love. Okay? Sometimes you just need someone there to support you. And sometimes it's not medicine or therapy that you need, or to eat better, or to work out, or whatever that is. Sometimes it's just that you need an encouraging word from somebody. You don't always need just an answer. And I've had to learn this too. Sometimes it's just love. Sometimes you just have to be there for somebody. So like I said, for the person next to you in their spirit, sometimes you just need to be there for them. I have friends that I count on to be there for me. And sometimes they'll just be like, Micah, get over it. But other times they really are there for me. And they are there for me. They really do care. But a lot of times when I really need that, when I need that encouragement, when I need that love, and I have a broken spirit, they're there for that reason. I keep those people close, and you should too. All right. If you have friends that understand that, keep them close. Don't let them go. Recently, do I have time to talk about this? Okay. All right. Recently, I'll tell you an example of that. Recently, I was with one of my friends, and we were talking about, as some of you know, I do music, I perform and things like that, and I record music and things like that. And so I was recently talking with a friend, and I was feeling very vulnerable because when you do shows and you start putting your music out there and you're sending it to record companies and people like that, things like that, and you're putting yourself out there to be criticized. You're very vulnerable, okay? And so it makes you feel vulnerable, and that at those times is when you really need your friends. And so one of my friends was talking to me, and he said, okay, so what's enough? Like, what's going to be enough for you? Is it going to be, this or that? Can you put something quantitative? Can you quantify it? What's going to be enough for you? And I said, I thought about it, and there really isn't a way you can quantify what's going to be enough. And so he said, what about what you have now? The fact that you are reaching people now, the fact that your music is reaching people now, that's affecting people, and that people have been affected by that's made a difference now. Is that not enough? And I thought about it, and I said, yes, it is. It is. If this is all that it is, that's enough. The fact that I've made a difference in at least one person's life, right? So I kind of put it, and I was like, whoa, okay, that's good. New perspective on life. Okay. So I can go through life every day saying, who is that one person that I'm affecting today? And that's enough. Okay? So when you have a broken spirit, like I said, that has nothing to do with my message, but it's an example. Okay? Hold those friends close. There's a third part, a moral aspect. Proverbs 28:1. The wicked flee when no man pursues them, but the righteous are bold as a lion. Okay, this is from Leviticus 26:17 and 18, which basically, I'll just sum it up. We don't have to go there. But basically, God's saying, if you disobey me, all your enemies, I'm going to send all your enemies after you. And even when your enemies aren't coming after you, you're going to run. All right, you're going to feel like they're pursuing you. Okay? This is a moral aspect to a broken spirit. If you feel shame or guilt from knowing you aren't living a right life, you will only feel shame and guilt. But even when no one's persecuting you. Have you ever seen like a criminal in public? Have you ever been around a criminal in public? Okay, listen, I know some people, I know some people that are criminal. I mean, they're not my friends, but I've been around them in public, okay? They don't particularly always do legal things, okay? And they're always like, they're like, if there's a cop coming up, oh man, like they disappear. I'm like, where'd you go? Where's my friend? They are afraid even though nothing's wrong at all times. That is a guilty spirit, okay? That's a morally broken spirit, all right? If that's you, fix it. Okay? I hope that's not you. But if it is, you can fix it. All right? That's the moral one's the easiest one. Okay, I'm going to go past that because I think you get that one. There's a fourth part. It's, goodness. We're going to go quick. Can I have 5 minutes? Are we good? All right. 5 minutes. Okay, there's an existential, part of a broken spirit. Existential is just a fancy word. Don't get all crazy on me. Existential is a fancy word for having to do with existence, okay? Thinking about the way you exist, all right? The fact that you're here, that you're alive, all right? The truth is that if you're sitting around the table with your family, one of you is going to watch the rest of them die. I know that's fun to think about, but it's true, okay? You are going to have to live through them dying. That's an existential, that's called existential angst, okay? Existential angst. Yes, I know you don't want to think about that, but it's true, okay? But here's what I'm saying. If you don't believe, if you haven't dealt with death or found a way of dealing with that, you have to, with God, then you have to accept that your origin is insignificant, that your destination is insignificant because you're going to die. It's just nothing, okay? And that would mean that your existence is insignificant. This is a broken spirit an existentially broken spirit, okay? This is someone who does not have any purpose or have any way of justifying their own living. And so they have a broken spirit because there's no joy in that. How can I have joy in doing something that's worth nothing? Even if I'm just living for my own pleasure or whatever, it still means nothing, and nothing to nobody, okay? So there's many aspects. What I'm trying to get across is that there are many aspects that, you can go to a doctor, but a doctor will not want to talk about philosophy or your emotions. He will want to give you medicine to try and fix your broken spirit, right? Your chemical imbalance, okay? Your friends, they'll just want to love you. They don't exactly want to, send you somewhere. They're there to love you. Christians, we tend to turn it into a moral thing, okay? Jonathan and his family, they're always talking about their mom, Blanca, and she has a Mexican accent, and she's always like, son, if there's something wrong, she's always like, son, are you tithing? Are you tithing? Are you tithing to the Lord? Have you been, it's like tithing is some magic thing that's going to make everything perfect. Nothing goes wrong when you tithe. No, that's not exactly true. So we try and moralize it. We all reduce it in our own way. We try and be reductionistic, all right? But the point is that you are very complex as a spirit because you are made in the image of God, and God is not a simple being. Okay? And so when you try and read the self-help books, and Joel Osteen is great. Let me tell you, he's helped a lot of people. But living every day of Friday is not going to help you in your entire life. It's not going to have all the answers, all right? Or, how to live your best life now is not going to give you every answer that you need. Okay? Any of those books or anybody's reductionistic way of looking at it is not going to give you all the answers. It's too simple. It'll run short. You're not going to have it. Okay? Does everybody understand that? But the last point is that there's a faith aspect. Okay? Proverbs 15:13. We got to go quick. A glad heart makes a cheerful countenance, but a sorrow of heart, the spirit is broken. Okay. In the Bible, your heart kind of reflects the way you love, the way you trust, what you live for. Like I said, the existential thing, you have to believe in something. You have to put your heart into something. Otherwise, you have no way of justifying yourself living. That way, and the reason we do this sometimes is we put that in people, like in a relationship. Where in one way, breaking up, from a relationship that, from someone that you've begun to love and things like that, that will hurt. But if you believe that person is everything and that is your reason for living, you will have no reason to live anymore if they don't love you. Okay? That's kind of not good. All right? People are going to let you down anyways. Nobody's perfect. So there's a level of faith that we have to put our faith beyond people. We have to put our faith beyond things. And like I said, sometimes we tend to be a little too reductionistic about it. Proverbs 14:10. The heart knows its own bitterness, and no stranger shares its joy. Here's the reason that we can't, that our broken spirit, we have to understand about our spirit is that we are alone in our spirit. Each heart knows its own bitterness, and no one can share its joy. The reason that I'm saying that is because what you have to understand tonight is that nobody's going to understand you completely. I think some of you already know that. You're like, well, nobody understands me. Well, okay, yes, because you are unique. Nobody's going to understand you completely. That being said, you're alone completely. Unless you have an intimate relationship with God who created you, who knows more about you than you know about yourself. In fact, the word says that all man's ways seem innocent to him, but motives are weighed by the Lord. In other words, we don't even know ourselves completely. And I wish I had more time to go over this with you, but I think you get the point. What I want to say is that in Psalms 23, the one that David wrote, he understood something. And maybe you can research this out yourself, that the Lord is my shepherd. You should find out what a shepherd is. It's not some guy with long flowy hair, milky skin, and he's all like just with the no, that's not a shepherd, all right? That's not a shepherd, all right? Shepherds they had to be tough guys. They had to take care of 100 helpless sheep, which the Bible equates you to, by the way. But it says the Lord is your shepherd, so that's pretty good. I think that's a pretty good trade-off. The fact that we try and do it ourselves, that we try and handle a broken spirit ourselves, and we can't trust and focus solely on where we're going and running our race, we're going to end up a broken spirit. But if we can trust in God as our shepherd, and go back and read it again, Psalm 23. Read it again. David was wise at this point. He messed up a lot of times, but I think it led him to this point where he could say, the Lord is my shepherd, I have no need for anything.